everybody. So normally I don't see videos like this on my channel, but I figured with many of you guys enjoying my computer videos on Computer channel and also my storm videos over on Cube Compound DDX, maybe you want something nice to snack on or feast on while watching my videos, or just something nice to feast on with family and friends. And here is a really easy to put together thing that I make sometimes, and it's these pizza flatbreads. I get all my ingredients from ALDI. You can probably find the vast majority, if not all, this stuff at Walmart or your local grocery store. So we have the flatbreads, which these came out of the freezer just now. It's the stone oven baked artisan flatbreads. They're specially selected brand. We have hot Italian sausage, which I pre-cooked and had frozen for later, and I'll demonstrate how to make this in a separate clip. We have a block of mozzarella cheese. You'll need the whole block for 2 flatbreads. We also have marinara sauce. Now, ALDI, I don't think they sell an actual pizza sauce, but the marinara sauce, I like it. I like it. It's really good. Now, of course, you can change this up however you wish. Of course, we got the oregano leaves and pepperoni, which I've got just enough left. I don't think I'll be able to top it really heavily like I usually do, but since I'm also topping it with sausage, it'd be fine. So, now me personally, I like to buy the cheese in blocks and shred it. It just seems to turn out a lot better that way. I do sometimes buy it in the pre-shredded variant over in the dairy section, and it's still pretty good, but I do like the block cheese a lot better. So first, let's go ahead and start out by preparing the sausage. And if you're not using sausage on your flatbread, you can skip this part of the video. Okay, so before we start with the actual flatbreads, we'll go ahead and focus on the sausage, how to prep it if you're using it. So this is your typical hot Italian sausage links. I get these from ALDI. I like these a lot better than Johnsonville that you would get like at your regular grocery store. If you have an ALDI nearby, I do recommend getting this stuff right here. This is their own brand of Italian sausage, the hot Italian sausage, and it's so good. So this here is frozen, so what I got to do is I got to run these links under some warm water, and that will allow me to pull the skins off of them. What I do is I take the skins off and I put them right in the frying pan, and I fry them just pretty much fresh out of the freezer. So I'm going to do that right quick, and I'll resume the video once I get done with that. Okay, so I'm going to unpack and thaw out the sausage. This is pretty much how I do it right here. I just take some cool or warm water. This time of year during the summer, the city water is actually not all that cold, so it works fine just on cold. That way you ain't got to fire up your water heater. So I'm actually prepping this sausage ahead of time. I'm not actually going to be doing the pizzas tonight. Generally what I like to do is I like to prep the sausage ahead of time, because what you can do is you can freeze it, and when you're ready to make your pizzas, you can just thaw it out. Now these 5 links will top 4 flatbreads. So what I generally do is I just I cook the sausage and I divide it up half and half and freeze it. So I've actually got something else going right now. I'm actually making Taco Bell knockoff quesadillas, chicken quesadillas, and I may do a video on that later on. Not tonight though. So this is generally how I uncase the sausages. Once you hit them with that water, the skins tend to just come right off. Now, if you're Using these things when they're not frozen, you can use a knife to cut the skin and peel it off that way. Depends on your personal preference, really. I used to defrost this stuff before I mess with it, but I found that to be a waste of time, really. Okay, so now I got the links in a pot here. So they're still frozen. They're still pretty hard, so go ahead and start them. What I usually do on this particular stove, since it takes a little bit to get going, is I briefly start them on high. Then I turn it down to medium once I start to hear the sausage start to sizzle. Okay, they're starting to sizzle, so I'm going to turn this down to about medium heat. And I'm going to go ahead and cover them. And as they start to thaw out and cook, we'll use the spatula to mash them up into smaller pieces. So just give it a few minutes. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and make sure that we turn the sausages once in a while so that way they don't burn on one side. Yeah, so now they've thawed around enough where we can just slice through them with the spatula. Continue to stir around the sausage and break it up. This is also the same way I do sausage in my when I do spaghetti. Okay, so the sausage looks to be done. So what I'm going to do is turn off the heat, and I'll drain it as well. Drain some of the grease off. And in this case, since I'm going to be saving all the sausage for later, I'm going to let it cool down some, and I'll put it in two separate bags and freeze it for later. Okay, so I drained and let the sausage cool down, then I went ahead and halved it up and put it in these two quart-sized freezer bags, and these things will hold up for a pretty good while in the freezer. And just when you're ready to make your flatbreads, you just take the sausage out of the bag, stick it on a plate, put it in the microwave for about a minute or so, and they'll be ready to go. So once these cool down, I'll be putting them in the freezer. Okay, so now we got the sausage prep out of the way. Let's go ahead and start on the rest of the ingredients. So let's go ahead and shred this cheese. And I have a box grater for this. I have two different types of cheese graters, and I always like the box grater for the mozzarella. Again, as I mentioned, I do like using the block cheese when making these things because as mentioned, well, the thing is this cheese here, it melts a lot better on the pizza when you're baking it versus the other stuff. And sometimes these things can be a pain to open. Okay. So all I gotta do is just get this cheese out just somewhat. And I'll use this part of the box grater for shredding this stuff. Okay, so personally what I do when I get toward the end of the block like this is I'll just tear it apart by hand. That way I don't risk cutting my fingers up in the grater. Now these box graters can be a pain to clean sometimes. Personally, what I like to do is what I'll do is I'll just run hot water against the grater, and it tends to melt the cheese right off. So makes it a lot easier to clean. So we're going to do that now. I'll have to have that going for like a minute or so. So what I do with the rest of the block, as mentioned, I just tear it apart by hand. Don't have to look perfect. Okay, so now the cheese has been shredded, and since this sausage was frozen, we gotta heat it up. So what I'll do is grab another paper plate. And just unpack all the sausage. And I'll stick this in the microwave for about a minute or so. And that should take care of it. So generally we're just wanting the sausage to be thawed out. It don't have to be all fully heated up, because obviously it's going to do that in the oven. I'll put this to the side. Get some stuff out of the way here. Then unpack these flatbreads. And here's the Italian sausage. And of course, you know me, I got still a small sample. And I'm telling you guys, ALDI, their hot Italian sausage is like the best. So with these flatbreads, the directions they give you, I will specify 425 degrees. Now, I personally run mine at 400 degrees. And of course, my oven is also fan convection. That could make a difference too. So I usually do it for 400. So what I'm going to do is, well, first I'm going to mention about the marinara sauce. Obviously, we're not going to need this whole thing. We only will need just a small amount. So what you can do is you can freeze the remainder of this for later use, and you can actually refreeze this multiple times without having any issues. Now I should mention that if your pasta sauce or pizza sauce comes in a glass container, do not freeze that because it will bust, or very likely would bust. So I would caution you on that one. This comes in a plastic jar, and I've frozen this. Not this particular one, but I've frozen these particular jars in the past with no issue. And as mentioned, you can refreeze multiple times and not really affect the taste. Okay, so go ahead and preheat the oven. And I should mention that I recommend putting something on the bottom rack. I recommend putting the pieces on the top rack, directly on the rack, and putting something on the bottom rack to catch any grease that may fall. I have a baking sheet, a cookie sheet on the bottom rack, so that should take care of that. Otherwise, it'll up in the bottom of your oven and it may smoke like crazy. Now, if you start seeing smoke, don't be alarmed. It's just sometimes that's what happens when the grease comes off the pizzas and falls into the oven. Okay, so we're going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. And of course, if your oven has convection, I do recommend using it. Now these usually cook in about, I'd say about 7 minutes or so. It's usually how long they take to bake, at least in my experience. So we're going to put the start with putting the sauce on. You don't need a whole lot of sauce. Of course, we all have our own personal preference. Yeah, usually I don't spread the sauce all the way to the edge. Because if you do, you may have some run off the sides of the pizza. I always like to leave the crust exposed on the edges. Okay, so that leaves about, kind of hard to see because of the wrapper on the container. It's about down to here. Now we're going to do the cheese. And the way I top these things is I always do the pepperoni last. That way it's up on top, and it tends to get more crispy that way. Okay, so I'm going to just do the sausage. And if you want to add peppers and stuff like that to yours, now's the time to go ahead and do it. It looks like I was very generous when I sectioned up this sausage when I cooked it. Of course, you know me, I gotta sample it. Usually takes this oven about 10 minutes to preheat the 400. I'm kind of short on pepperoni, at least I think. So I want to just top them lightly at first, and that way I don't have so much on one and not enough on the other. Normally I load these things down a bit more with pepperoni, but I'm kind of short this time. So that's all we're getting for pepperoni this time. But we have a lot of sausage this time, so that helps make up for it. So now we're just waiting on the oven to finish preheating, and we're going to put these in the oven. And as I mentioned, for me, they take about 7 minutes, and I think the convection helps speed up the process a little bit. And I always like to sprinkle some oregano on before they bake. And I also add a little bit to it after they bake as well. It's personal preference. Okay. I'll slide this up a bit. Actually, no, I'm not waiting. That way y'all can see. And we'll carefully place these right on the rack. As you mentioned, they will shrink up a little bit. Well, actually, I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but they will shrink up a little bit when they're baking. So it's a very small amount. Okay. So roughly about 7 minutes or so, they'll be done. So you can see they're on the top rack, and I got a baking sheet under on the bottom rack to catch any grease that runs off. So if you have a small oven with just one rack, like a double oven, you just want to make sure you watch out, because of course if anything runs off, your oven will smoke like crazy next time you go to bake something. So just a heads up. Same goes if you're baking 4 of these and use both of your racks, if your oven has just 2 racks in it. So sorry for the glare. Okay guys, it's been about 7 minutes, and I'm looking at these things, and the pepperoni is starting to crisp up on top, and the edges of the crust are starting to get tan. So we're almost there. Now, sometimes what I'll do is I'll use a flashlight to get a better look. We'll let this go just a tad bit longer. Now just look under them, make sure that they're not burning on the bottom. I always recommend leaving your oven shut as much as possible, because you lose heat that way, and you heat your kitchen up a lot too. Okay, so I'm going to pull them out. The way I usually get these things out is with 2 spatulas. I have 2 of these plastic spatulas. You just gotta be careful doing this so we don't drop one of these things. Yeah, my air conditioner's gonna hate me for this. Okay. Okay, so you can see the crust is golden, and cheese is well melted. Some of the pepperonis, they've even gotten crisp up on top. So I'm going to add just a little more oregano. Yeah, I like to do a little before and a little after, so that way some of it actually bakes into the cheese. And I usually just slice these things in half. And that is how you can make these flatbread pizzas. Real easy to make, and they're really delicious. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.